Dr. is Dr. Cornelius Banah from Cameroon. Is that what you have?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. So Dr. Cornelius Banah from Cameroon is going to be presenting an idea that is thoroughly innovative on the issue of project management. I'm assuming that because Dr. Sama is a doctor of project management, a very essential topic also because most people go through the all routines to manage their projects. So let's hear what Dr. Cornelius Banah from Cameroon have for us. There we go. Go ahead. Welcome, Dr. Sama.
Good day, everyone. I don't know, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever we are in the world. Yeah, so I'm talking right away from Cameroon, and I'm going to share with you some innovative ideas for food production, conservation, and distribution in response to the UN Sustainable Goal 2. So before my presentation, I will sincerely like to thank all the staff and all those working in the Atlantic International University for having opened my eyes to see the importance and to work closely with the goals of the UN Sustainable Development Plan. Yeah, I had the opportunity in my course, the doctorate, to go deep into these goals, and they helped me to develop some of these projects that I'm going to share with you. So we have a small program, an outline of the presentation. We'll start with with an introduction, a presentation of the project, a statement of the problem, objectives of the project, and then we'll go to the methods and activities, education as the tool of innovation, presentation of some innovative ideas, the impact of the ideas and some of the beneficiaries, then the mechanisms for monitoring, evaluation of the project and the organization in charge of this. This is just like the format of every project that we can write, what we talk of project management. So the UN, the United Nations adopted a sustainable development plan in 2015 that was developed to make the world a better place of equal possibilities and chances to live happily. This plan targeted some key problems affecting our planet and made proposals to remedy them by 2030. These goals were adopted as a universal call for action to end poverty and promote equality of chance to succeed. This plan comprises of 17 goals that touch different aspects of life on the planet. And the second goal, which is the concern of my presentation, touches the problem of hunger that remains one of the major problems in the world today. This project aims at implementing the objectives and lines of actions of the UN Sustainable Development Plan, especially the second goal that talks of hunger, as I was saying. So we go now to the presentation of the UN Goal 2. What's it all about? The UN Sustainable Development Goal 2 has as target to end hunger, achieve food security, improve on the quality of nutrition, and promote sustainable and ecological agriculture by 2030. The pertinence of this goal lies in the urgent reality of hunger in the world that is endowed with remarkable resources, both natural and technological, or even human resources, but still experiences unequal access and distribution of these resources. The underlying ideology of this goal defends that if we promote sustainable agriculture with modern technologies and fair distribution or distribution systems, we can sustain the world's population and make sure that nobody will ever suffer from hunger. So we go now to the presentation still of this goal. The goal 2 of the UN Sustainable Development Plan targets some key objectives, such as putting an end to all forms of malnutrition, increase the productivity and incomes of small-scale food producers, improve on food production, and encourage resilient agricultural practices, invest more in rural infrastructures and farming, promote agricultural research and technologies, and prevent agricultural trade restrictions, market distortions, and export subsidies. These are the basic principles on which the UN Sustainable Goal 2 is grounded, and that is why we want to present or we develop this project to assist this goal and make sure that we put it into practice. So now we are going to look at the next aspect, the presentation of the problem. Presentation of the problem. Hunger remains one of the major problems in the world today, even though many of us, many people in the world and in their plentiful seem to ignore the reality. The world is so blessed with amazing and natural resources, with millions of plants and animals disposed to man as food. But unequal access and distribution to these resources, natural disasters, wars, and sanitary crises have maintained man in a state of starvation and hunger. And it is rather unfortunate and sad to know that extreme hunger and malnutrition are a reality and comprise a huge barrier to development in many countries today. There are about 821 million people estimated to be chronically undernourished as of 2017, often as a direct consequence of environmental degradation, drought, and biodiversity loss. That's the report of the World Food Programme of 2022. And over 90 million children under 5 are dangerously underweight. Undernourishment and severe food insecurity appear to be increasing in almost all regions of Africa, as well as in South America, according to the World Food Programme reports in 2022. And recent studies confirm that approximately 690 million people are hungry, representing about 8.9% of the world's population. That is about 10 million people in a year and nearly 60 million in 5 years. This is a serious issue to be addressed, the problem of hunger, according to these figures. So, thinking about this reality, we came to develop some of this project basing on our reality that could equally be experienced in other places in the world. The objective or some of the objectives of the project, the main objective is to participate in proposing some innovative ideas that can help alleviate one of the greatest issues touching our globe, that is the problem of hunger. And the project aims at participating in the global efforts to reduce hunger and increase food production, considering that the fact that hunger is a global problem and only a global solution is needed to solve it. And that's why being in an international school like us, we have to discuss these things out and see how to find solutions to help the different areas of the globe. And some specific objectives of the project are to develop an innovative technique that will help in the distribution of many farm produces cultivated in rural areas in huge quantities, but that are wasted because before they reach the urban cities. This will be done through the use of adapted drones and bikes that we are proposing. And we propose an ecological method of conserving huge quantities of vegetables cultivated and wasted through the construction of an industrial drying machine or a dryer that can use a solar energy. And we equally want to devise a method of rice cultivation in arid places, since this issue of desertification is advancing in the continent, and we try to reduce the cost of transportation of rice from other parts of the world to the needy. So the aim is equally to develop a cheap technique of pisciculture that will help the low-income earners to fend for themselves and supply the basic products with the needy. So those were some of the objectives of our presentation of the project. And what are some of the methods and activities we are trying to present? We talk of the bet on education as the tool of innovative ideas, placing all our hopes on education. because we come to realize that education stands as the strong and unique tool capable of developing and transmitting new values, ideologies, concepts, traditions, and cultures. These are all elements of revolution in a society. Like Nelson Mandela was insisting or said, that the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world is education. That's why we really want to bet and really insist and emphasize on education. Education is the only instrument capable of handling serious matters that can change a society because it creates diplomacy where war and violence have failed, and the scientific techniques where traditional methods have failed. Only education can bring such and change in the society. And that is why we need it. And education is an agent of socialization, bringing people together like the forum in which we are today as a social family and the world as a global village. This is enough to make the wars of racism, tribalism, nepotism, individualism, and all the isms to fall. Education remains the sole instrument to seek global solutions to the problems affecting the world. It is the only means capable of realizing the 17 goals of the UN Sustainable Development Plans that seek to find global and lasting solutions to the problems of our world. Education helps to form critical minds and frees people from traditional ways and beliefs. These traditional beliefs usually oppose to new realities. Critical minds are capable of analyzing facts and rationally, that is, facts rationally, and not hold on to superstitions. If we are here to talk about innovative ideas, it means we have been educated and we have that critical mind to bring out some of these innovative ideas. Education is the perfect tool of experimentation where theory and practical are blended to impact lives. This is the only way of creating innovative ideas for the advancement of the world. If the theory of evolution of Darwin were true, then education will be the only thing that has straightened man from the head, from the neck to the tail, and now to upright spiritual being, capable and working towards making better. Education creates possibilities in life. It forms the abundant mindset and offers different possibilities to think and act. This makes life simple and less costly and makes the outcomes radio that is to be possible, the issue of simplifying life. So that is why we think education is the key. And why do we need this education? We need this education to go into a program of training reference farmers. Who do we call reference farmers? We have agro engineers in the world today. We have local farmers in all of our countries and those who have really invested in agriculture, in the agro industry. But then we feel that there is a lack of a universal idea or this passion to bring about a lasting solution to the problem of hunger and food that concerns all the nations. Each person tries to do something in his own context, but not as a general or universal team. So the training of reference farmers will be done each year. We try to develop the program to train them each year and help them to come together. The idea is to work with all those who at local levels are already practicing farming and all those who maybe have been to universities as agro engineers. We try to put them together to explain what is really happening in the world and the problem of hunger, the issue of food production, and try to put them together, bring a new mindset that will help them not only to look at their micro environment, but look at the world as large and try to seek a global solution and a lasting one. This is what pushes us to the idea of farmers without borders. We talk of doctors without borders, but why not create the idea of farmers without borders? This idea came up when we were told many years ago that certain crops could not succeed in our soil here in Africa. And some of these crops are the apples, what we usually call in our country, Cameroon, and most of the Central African country, the apple, the French apple. the French apple. We were told that it could not grow here. We were told that wheat could not grow in our soil or in tropical areas. We were told that grapes, or what we call the vines, could not succeed in our tropical areas. And many other farm produces or species of plants. But my experience, our experience here, when we succeeded to grow the vines, the grapes, and we started extracting the juice to make wines, that made me to understand that it is possible. Maybe people have not tried the idea, and that's why they came to the conclusion that they could not grow in some areas of the world. And one professor of agriculture in one of our universities here also discovered a technique of growing wheat. So we see that if we have this idea of farmers without border, there could be people who work together to see how we can carry the plants from one end to the other. Maybe some areas in the world do not have certain species or types of plants, but then we can have these farmers without border who go there to taste it and see how to bring these plants to other people. This will help us to have what we want in all our environments. And we move about these trained agro engineers or even local farmers will be used to promote methods that can really help plants to succeed in all the areas in the world. And that is how we can really fight to reduce hunger in the world, because everybody will at least have the basic. So, well, from this idea, we move now to an innovative means of transportation. It is been noticed that most villages in Cameroon have very high production rate of local and exported farm produce. There are tons of farm produce that get in many of these villages just because of poor networks. These areas are really inaccessible and will need a means of transportation to take the abundant food produces and distribute them to other areas, especially in the country, in the sub-region, and in the world. The idea here is to develop an innovative technique that will help in the distribution of farm produces cultivated in rural areas in huge quantities through the use of adapted drones and even adapted the food from one place to the other, especially to places where cars can reach, places or the urban areas and places where they could be exported. We have seen the use of drones in agriculture when bigger drones were developed to help maybe to do other things. But why can't these drones be adapted for the transportation of farm produces? That's why we came up with this idea, taking from one place to places of abundance to places of scarcity and try to strike the balance when it comes to food distribution. So this idea is cheaper to realize and than the construction of roads. To construct a road, maybe we need some parliamentarians to go to the parliament and try to negotiate there. And there is this issue of politics that is really out of reach. So we think creating these motorbikes and the drones will help. Motorbikes are used everywhere in Africa, especially in my country, Cameroon. They have flooded the country, and they are used in many areas to transport persons and goods. So there are some that are really adapted to go to all areas and to transport bigger quantities of farm. So we think they could be adapted more and be made stronger to go to these rural areas, to these places that are very difficult to reach out, and then we carry the farm produces to urban places or places where cars can reach, and then we do the distribution from there. And we see that in our context, in the context of Cameroon, at times I'm a bit sad when I see the World Food Program and other international organizations bringing rice from out of the country, bringing foodstuffs for refugees, for prisoners, because Cameroon is it hosts so many refugees coming from neighboring countries like Chad, like Central Africa, even at times the north of Nigeria. And equally now the country is experiencing a civil or socio-political crisis, which is almost like a civil war for like 6 years now. And we equally have many refugees. These people are in need of food, but at times it is not easy to access the areas of abundance to take the food to distribute. So we think trying to adopt these drones and even adapt bikes that can go to other areas and pick the food and distribute, then it will help to solve the problem of hunger. Then the next idea is the creation of an ecological method of conservation. The drying machine is a big industrial machine that can be constructed as a small house with many rooms. It can have several layers like shelves where different crops and products can be exposed to be dried. It consumes a lot of energy, but the solar energy or the solar system can be adapted to help in this sense. So I was opportune in my small studies here and in my engagements because I like to discover things almost every day. And one of the things I studied is this phytotherapy and the use of plants for herbal healings and herbal medicines. And I discovered that we have, and precisely in Cameroon, they don't be wasted. Many can cure even life-threatening diseases like cancer, like many others. And then these plants are being wasted. And one of the best ways we can really conserve these plants, even for medicinal purposes, for food consumption, is the construction of this ecological dryer. We insist on this because at one point I was a bit afraid that maybe the drying system could reduce the food nutrients of the plant, since what we've been doing now is the sun dry. We try to expose our plants and the vegetables to the sun, and the sun does the drying. That's the traditional method. But having this ecological dryer, this machine, it can help to really dry huge quantities, tons of vegetables that can be consumed in other parts of the world. We all know the nutritive value of vegetables and how good they are to the human body. And they could equally be consumed as medicines or drugs to help man. So if we try this method of conservation, because we see that one of the issues we have in food or with hunger today is because much quantity of food is being wasted in places. So if we can consume that, if we can conserve it, sorry, it will permit now the easy distribution to the areas of scarcity. So we will see some pictures here, like the medicinal and food plants cultivated. We have many of them. When the issue of COVID came up, it was not much an issue to us because we have the moringa, we have the artemisia and other developed as drugs. So they were very, very helpful. And I think the issue now there is to see how to bottle them, to pass through them, and to make them richer. So the next idea is the innovative methods of rice cultivation. We have very few areas where rice can be cultivated. You know, rice cultivation is really favorable in swampy areas, areas with constant water and that are wet. And with the fast advancement of the desert here in Africa, we are a bit scared. Climatic conditions and changes have brought about a lot of change in our environment. And I was thinking now idea of bringing other, and this is possible with the use of land irrigation. Land irrigation, but the question is, we could ask the question, but how can we irrigate already a desert land, a dry land? How is that possible? Here we have already the use of bores. There are adapted machines that can go hundreds of meters down the earth, beneath the earth. to pull out water. So if we can succeed to have this in some arid areas or in some places, that can permit the land irrigation now to make the soil favorable for land cultivation, for rice cultivation. So we can do this by creating some ridges in the form of of rooms or houses where the water can be contained, and then we pour the water after digging the holes or after creating the bore. Then we put it now inside. When the place becomes wet and favorable for the rice cultivation, then we do it. So this idea will need maybe the effort will be or the effort, the investment will be more on the move on to the construction of the ridges, like the picture. The next picture is showing create some ridges, like just like the foundation of the house. That will permit the conservation of the water. The water will be conserved and make the place swampy, really wet, and that's how we can succeed. And then the next idea now is the fish ponds, the creation of fish ponds. This idea is very unique in our context here in Cameroon. And just like the other ideas, what really prompted the reflection of this particular project was the fact that we have a very great business tycoon here in the country who succeeded to influence the government, and he had the license, the only one, to import fish in Cameroon. Imagine an individual having the sole license to import fish in a country. He could decide whenever the price of fish could be a kilogram. So he was so rich, so wealthy, and there was no competition, no challenge in the country. And several times there was scarcity of fresh fish in the country. And this was also coupled with the fact that we have some companies who come in to fish, and most of them are from China. But these companies, when they go out to fish, it is industrial fishing. It leaves a lot of damage on the environment. Like we see in the picture, pollution and all kinds of deaths that are being found. I come from a town, a coastal town here in Cameroon called Limbe, the first image that we are seeing. And that town, each time I go there and I happen to visit the shore, the seashore, I am almost sick because I see the quantity of debt that's been deposited, and then the industrial fishing that is being done. It is very destructive to the environment. So why can't we organize an ecological way of keeping this fish in the house and develop the pisciculture? It will be more profitable for the environment, the protection of the environment, and it will help to increase also food production, because those big companies, they only sell to supermarkets and to maybe to the rich. And what about the poor? What about the low income earners? They are almost forgotten in the society. So this project aims at really favoring that, and it will create a lot of competitions. We see in the market now that some people are trying to develop the idea of the fish pond, but we have a lot of problems, and one of the major difficulties we have in this area is the food to the fish. So that's why we're thinking of how to develop some ideas on the increasing the feed for the fish that will help a low income earner to be able to have a pond in the house. So that is the idea, and what we have been trying. So what are some of the impacts of these ideas or the projects that we are proposing? One, the social impact of it is to save lives and to save the lives of millions of people who are starving and undernourished. Use food assistance to build a pathway for peace, stability, and prosperity for people recovering from conflict, disasters, and the impact of climate change and health pandemics like the COVID we're talking about. And the impact is also to ameliorate the living condition of millions of persons who do not have access to quality food and a balanced diet. We talk of balanced diet, but people don't have the opportunity to, get what is essential in order to enrich their table. And another impact is to reduce migration and rural exodus of youths. Many of them are leaving the rural areas to urban areas. And some of them think they can only make their lives when they live in urban areas or when they travel abroad in big countries like the US. But when we develop such projects, to me, it's a way of maintaining them in their micro environment. Because someone who has the opportunity of growing his farm produces and is able to export them to the US, to Europe, to other places without leaving his environment, the person will see no need to waste money in order to go and start a new life in a new environment. So these ideas or these projects aim at making people to feel comfortable in their environment and at the same time participate in seeking a global solution to the problems of the world. We can still be in our environment. I don't need to leave from Cameroon to be in the UK, to be in Asia or other countries to seek a solution. But from my own environment, I can chip in my contribution, and I can also participate in bringing peace and solving this problem of hunger in the world. And another impact is to permit farmers to become empowered because of the acquisition of the professional training as the agro-pastoral sector. That is, we make farmers to become also important, and we see them as agents of bringing solutions, lasting solutions to the world. Today, the Doctors Without Borders are so famous, and everybody talks about them for the great job they do. Why not the Farmers Without Borders? I think these farmers too can do something. So economically, this idea can bring an increase in the production and also boost the economy of small countries. The arrival of new economic actors who emerge from agricultural sector, not only business people or important in the country, farmers too can be a very important actor in the development of the country. And then it will equally help to reduce unemployment, which is very high in our context, and increase the living standards, and improve the youth, the life of the youth. And then to increase the sustainable production of crops and animals, especially those that we think like the trained farmers will use sustainable methods to improve soil fertility. We know of the traditional methods and the problems of these traditional methods here in Africa. So if we have reference farmers, if we have well-trained farmers, they will help in the production of crops without without any land degradation, but they will equally work to improve the land. And then the use of local materials to construct animal houses and living houses that are environmentally friendly and the costless. And then the use of ecological methods of farming that will reduce risks of pollution in the world. Once we have the trained farmers, they are going to help also to participate in the other areas, that is making the globe to be a better place. And some of the mechanisms of monitoring of this activity, them analyzing them, explaining the UN development, sustainable development goals and their importance in the world, and try to work on them and see how we can put that in program so the training can last a while, and we see how to put them in that. And then for the monitoring and evaluation of the construction of these transportation means, we get the drones, adapted ones, or the motorbikes, and we get technicians, professionals who can help to adapt them to the different realities and help them to and bring food there to places that are accessible by cars. Then from there we can continue the distribution to other places, either at the national level or at the international level. Then for the vegetables, we just need to make the construction of the ecological dryer. Then make sure that it doesn't vegetables and the plants. Then we see how we can now go about with the distribution. And then this also goes with the issue of rice production. You see, we can when we have already all the elements like the balls, then we move now on to see how the rice can be planted and how to enrich the soil gradually, making sure that it is a favorable one for the production of reasonable quantity of rice that can be distribution of the young Calic entrepreneurs. That's the cooperative I've been working with. And to talk about this entity, I would really like to give a vibrant homage, pay homage to Dr. Edward, who in one of his webinars encouraged us to create cooperatives. I remember that was around November or December, and I was so moved by that. I already started working with some youth. It's at this point that I will want to present myself here as a Roman Catholic priest. I am a priest in the Roman Catholic Church and was in charge of the youth. So I saw the difficulties many of them had. They did not have jobs. They were very dependent on the church, but we can't, keep giving them money and assistance all the time. And I thought and give them some books and how they can take care of themselves and that to put up their own microstructure, work on their micro projects. So it started like a small group. When I followed the talk of Dr. Edward of Lambert, I was so and then the group
We seem to have
and from couple things we work with the this innovative idea can be used some
we seem to have a problem with Dr. Cornelius Banah. I don't know whether some other attendees are able to hear Dr. Banah. As a matter of fact, on my end, he is completely gone at this time.
He disconnected. His connection disconnected.
I heard that he was having some issues. The sound's been wambling to a certain extent in the last 10-15 minutes. That is very unfortunate. So many other people have expressed direct interest in his topic, which is a worldwide topic, hunger. United Nations Sustainable Goal number 2. And it is so important indeed that everybody knows or understands what to do to try to help out whenever we could resolve some issues dealing with hunger. There is one critical statistic data that Cornelius mentioned. 821 million people in poverty, so many people being malnourished. That is more than twice the entire population of the United States. According to the last census, we are 360 million people strong. And if we multiply that by 2, that is still less than that statistic of 821 million people to be malnourished around the world. This is something that is very, very touchy. And of course, it would be a noble goal for everybody to contribute a share. When I say share, I am not talking necessarily about dollar value. No, if you could contribute, of course, if you are, let's say, the country where Dr. Cornelius Banah was talking about in Cameroon, if you can pitch in whatever the government and other members of society are doing to alleviate people's situation there, that is fine. But again, I was not alluding necessarily to monetary contribution to alleviate this problem. Like Dr. Cornelius was saying, there are so many other ways. Training of people who are working in agriculture, being, in a position where you can sensitize people about whatever strategy they could use to offer helping hand anywhere, to whatever extent. But this is not acceptable that in 2022, today is the first day of June 2022, that so many people are going hungry. No, that is not acceptable. Whoever you are, wherever you are, if you can do something, sending out some ideas or writing to representatives of the government where you are, there shouldn't be people who are hungry today when so much is being wasted in so many other useless endeavors. So yes, this is a very, very fundamental issue that we should all get together to resolve. Unfortunately, we no longer have Dr. Cornelius Banah Sama, Doctor of Project Management from Cameroon. I do see 3 hands up.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, yeah, he's back. So let's say if we can summarize what is remaining in your presentation so that people who have their hands up can grab this opportunity, Dr. Sama, to ask you some questions. Go ahead.
No, I think that I was already at the end because I presented right up to the cooperative. The cooperative was just like an addition, and the entity or the body with which I work to put in place those innovative ideas. So I think practically I was already at the end when the line cut.
All right. So let's go now to, let's go first to Acacio Edu Guema for either a question or a comment for Dr. Cornelius, please. Acacio? Acacio doesn't seem to be with us. If not Acacio, then we're gonna go to Bernardo Quinjango. All right. Go ahead, Bernardo.
I don't know if you can hear me. Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, thank you. Maybe what I want to ask, the cost evaluation of the project, like how he did present it, it looks with high cost of finance. And what we look for is the sustainable development. Maybe Dr. Dea should show the figure to calculate how much it should cost. That is my question.
Okay, Dr. Sama.
Yeah. Okay, the cost of the project, yeah, it is a big project and we need a lot, and it's about over 100 million of francs CFA. Let me get the exact figure in terms of in dollars. Just a second, please. Just a second. Yeah, I will give you the figure. Yeah, but I think also when we talk of the sustainability of a project, it doesn't mean that we will realize everything at the time. A project can take 5, 10 years. We go one step to the other. We take one aspect of the projects and we realize it. Then we move to the next. So it could be done gradually. So in all, it is about 280,000 US dollars from the estimations, about 280,000 US dollars. And these can go a long way of in 2 years, it can really participate in the production of tons. I mean, tons of rice, tons of vegetables that can be consumed, and many other things. And even the realization of the project it can be done with some local fundings and local participations, because when we get the Farmers Without Borders, those who are convinced with the realities of hunger in the world, they too can mobilize their localities and their communities to participate in this program. So it's not all about investing huge sum of money on something, because already we have a huge quantity of farm produces and other things that are being produced and wasted in the country. But then the aspect of food distribution, we can begin from there. And once we assist other communities, then from there we can get the finances to continue with the project. So I don't know if I have answered the question. The first step is that the investment can be done gradually. Secondly, in realizing the project, some aspects can finance other aspects of the project, from those who show appreciation and those to whom even some of the produces are sold. Then thirdly, with the idea of the Farmers Without Borders, who hail from different communities, they can help to talk with their local communities to participate in the program. Some can even give out the excess of their farm produces, because if they don't participate, it can be wasted. So when they participate, it helps to have tons and tons of farm produces that can be distributed in the world and will help the project to move ahead.
Thank you very much, Dr. Sama. We have a question now, another one from Angela Ademola Osin. Your turn, Angela.
Hi, good afternoon, Dr. Sama. My name is Abdulalim Angela Ademola Osin from Nigeria, and I'm happy listening to your presentation, but I have a question for you. In Cameroon today, what is the biggest challenge? What is the biggest challenge that has been faced in the agricultural farming industry? And what would you say is the interconnecting relationship towards building an system to achieve a common goal towards solving hunger between Cameroon and a country like Nigeria? And how can we expand that? Thank you.
I got the first question, what is the biggest project? But the second one, I didn't get, please. Could you be more?
What is the biggest challenge facing the agricultural farmers in the industry in Cameroon? And what would be the major key criteria if you were to build an interpersonal relationship between Nigeria and Cameroon towards solving hunger problems as at this current century? And if we were to do the grant writing course, what would you see ahead of us likely?
Yeah, thanks. Thank you very much. I got the questions now. So one of the biggest problems we have with the farmers here in Cameroon, I could say, is that of accompaniment. And that's why I really want to insist on education. The country for over 50 years now, from 40, 50 years, in place many agricultural programs, and we have some international organizations that have tried to sponsor farmers by providing seeds to them, by providing some farm materials and many other things. But to me, when I try to look at the situation concretely, deeply, I see that these farmers, they really don't have an idea of the issues concerning, this problem of hunger in the world. They produce the products, and many of these things are being wasted. And you look at a neighboring country like Nigeria, I'm so happy we are talking about it. You go to Nigeria, you see that there are some things that could be cultivated in Cameroon and distributed to Nigeria. And when we look at the comparative advantage of economy, we see that we can easily cultivate some products or some species of plants in one part, and then we distribute to the other in order to increase production and then to reduce the cost. So these farmers, to me, they have a problem of education, a problem of coordination. They have received a lot from the government, but they now need to know the global problem and try to participate. That's why I was talking of the farmers without borders, to really put in their mind that it's not all about their communities, it's not all about their families, they are not doing farming only for their family. So that's one of the still in that education to help them to devise new ideologies, new methods in developing the soil, developing their activities, because most of them are still at the local scale. I don't know if there is any serious industry, agro industry in Cameroon. We really don't have one. But we have many big farmers who manage their activities at their own level. But just looking at their microenvironment, and they are not really open to the world. And then secondly, the relationship in Nigeria, we see already that a lot of rice leave Cameroon for Nigeria, and other things like honey, like even yams. Nigeria is a bigger country compared to Cameroon, and the population there needs a lot of food items to consume. But Cameroon produces also a lot, but the population is really not much. And Cameroon has been feeding, they're not feeding free of charge, but they sell these products to many countries like Gabon, like the Congo, like even to Nigeria, like Equatorial Guinea. The cases of Equatorial Guinea and Gabon, these two places we have stayed there for years. Many products and many things come from Cameroon. And when the borders are closed, you feel that the population suffer because goods cannot leave Cameroon to this country. So understand that they are not only cultivating for themselves, but for the world. And I think that will help to better the living standard of many other citizens in other countries. Yeah, so thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sama. We are running out of time. It's already past the 1 hour time frame, but we're gonna go for the last question with Fred. Go ahead, Fred, turn your microphone on and send your question to Dr. Sama, please. The microphone is Fred. Microphone is still off. On the lower left of your screen to turn that microphone on. Now the microphone is still off. If you go to the lower left of your computer, if you're using a computer, you should be able to see the icon, the first one for the microphone, the second for your camera, which is on, but the mic is off. Shall click on it. There we go. Connecting to audio, that's what your system is saying. No, okay, no, we cannot hear you. Your system at some point, Fred said, attempting to connect to audio, but apparently there is an audio issue on your end as well. And we are very, very sorry. We cannot hear you. Again, it's kind of time to wrap up this session with Dr. Cornelius Banah Sama from Cameroon. One idea that Dr. Lambert was expressing is there are two steps to resolve issues that request money. One is what Dr. Cornelius Banah Sama was attacking, which is to write a sound project and have all the steps listed to implement the project. But when it comes to implementing that project, then the other hurdle will come up, which is the money. But Dr. Lambert was writing for every attendee. I hope you saw the message. The other steps is to write grants. The money is there somewhere. It's about writing grants and solicit money where the money is. And if you write the grants adequately, efficiently, effectively, you will get the money. And Dr. Lambert, I'm trying to echo his ideas about that. Atlantic International University does have specific courses to write grants, and you should take one or more than one of these courses, and you will be equipped with the skills that you need to write grants and successfully locate and get the money that you need to execute your projects.
Dr. Balsina, if I could
Yes.
add, we have a book. We have many books on grant writing in the AIU library, but there's one book that we use for, it's called Grant Writing for Dummies, but it was published this year, and it's one of the best books. Even though the name is funny, it's one of the best books. So we have 6 courses that take you through that book that teach you all these different aspects of grant writing, how to do it, how to find sources internationally. And one of the things I know personally from students who have received grants, our AIU students who have received grants, if you write about the UN Sustainable Goals in your grant, there's a much better chance you're going to get the money. This is one of the reasons why the UN Sustainable Goals is important to AIU, because it opens up doors for you to get money for your projects too. When you concentrate on development, sustainable development, international organizations want to give you money because you're connected to the UN development goals.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lambert. And those are certainly innovative ways of getting funding for your project. This is why so many students are expressing the idea that they are getting a lot from this AIU symposium. Thank you again for attending. Thank you very much once more, Dr. Cornelius Banah Sama. Thank you to those who have asked questions, who have made comments. Thank you for everybody. But of course, picking back to that idea from Dr. Lambert, in the same line of thought of that presentation from Dr. Sama, the next thing is to understand economics very well. We are once again fortunate to have Dr. Rosemary Chika Ilechuku. We are aware of